All right, I think we're ready. I think so. All right, we've got a couple of things Last time we did some Tinkercad. What else did we do? We did looked at a couple of things, just some show and tell type of stuff. We'll do some more of that today. Let's see, where on Canva does it list all of the, or Canvas, does it list all the options for the assignments? So it's in the syllabus. It's actually part of the syllabus is where all the options are. So I think it's one of the very top. Well, I'm in it right here. Let's look. Let's see. Yes. So, I think it's in this general one and the syllabus. Right in there will be the list of all the options. Let's see. Where are we at? Oh, we also did, that's what we did, the big thing, is we looked at the Revopoint POP scanner. That was a structured light scanner. We tried a little bit of scanning. It's hard to do while I'm streaming because both of those things take a lot of the computer resources, so it can't do it very well. Right after the stream ended, I did scan two things. One, I posted in the Discord channel. It was the actual figure that we were trying to scan during class that kept locking up. So you can kind of get a idea of the detail level that scanner can do. Now that scanner is an old one. It's the POP, I guess 1. It doesn't actually have a number. They're on the 3 now, and that's the lower end scanner type that you can get. But it does give you a decent idea. And the POP 3 is actually pretty good. Those type of scanners are probably in the $600 range, somewhere like that. I also mentioned Polycam that you can use on your phone, which I don't know where I put my phone. Oh well. It's in the free range up to, there's some like a paid subscription probably. I did not show you the results of how, I did. I logged into Polycam and showed you some results of what it looked like. Not the highest level detail if you're trying to do small details, but if you're trying to scan some large object, it'll get you close enough. So what I did is I went and I did use the POP offline to scan the area around the hatch that we're missing. So we're missing, oh, there's our missiles. We're missing this. Actually, we're missing a lot of pieces. That's one of the pieces we're missing. So I scanned that area with the POP 1, and I've got that geometry now. So now we need to figure out how to use that geometry to create the model for this little hatch. This is not going to be as simple as the ones that we've been doing. What we've done up until now is basically take an overhead picture and trace it. One way or the other. We did some where we did that in Fusion. That's how we made the wings here. And that's also how I made these. Oh, I've got to talk about this guy. Where's he at on camera? I've got to talk about this one. Then we went and took an overhead picture, turned it into a SVG, so a vector file, put that into Tinkercad, and we made our missiles, which they came out really well. So this is how I ended up printing them. I sliced them in half. Actually, I used the slicer to slice them in half. Let me show you that process really quick. This will be in Bamboo Slicer, but they all work similar. Let me get it over here. If I can find, I'll get you on the screen in a minute. I gotta find the model. All right, so here we go. Here. So here's our little Tinkercad model. Let me change the color so you can see it a little better. There. So most of the modern slicers have some feature that will, again, this is Bamboo Lab or Bamboo Slicer, or I don't remember what the actual term is. It's the one that goes with the Bamboo's printers. There's a kind of non-bamboo version of this same thing called Orca Slicer that's open source, free. Well, all of these are built on Slicer. So most all of the slicers out there are built on one from a long time ago called Slicer. And this is one of those that's built all on top of that technology or that software. So most of these have a feature that will automatically split the model. So how you use it in this one is select the model, and In here it's called cut. Prusa slicer is called cut. Cura, I don't remember what Cura calls it, or if Cura does this the same way, but you hit cut, and it will automatically just slice it in half, although you can slice it however you want to. You've got this gizmo that lets you move and orient the slice plane however you want it. They also usually let you add connectors, and I did try that with here. The connectors are like little pins that help you line up the part. Our model here is so tiny that it really didn't suit itself to having holes drilled in it with dowels or pins because they would just be too small. So I opted no connectors, and then you hit perform cut, and now it did flip it around the wrong way, but we can orient that the right way, and that's how I printed them. And then I just used super glue and an accelerator. Let me show you the ones I used. Alright, so I used these. Oh, fell on the ground. I used this for my super glue. I used the gel, well, there we go. The gel kind so that it doesn't run everywhere. There's a, they have thick and thin and gel and all this kind of stuff. The one I used was the gel. And then I used this for an accelerator. So the accelerator for super glue makes it where it sets faster. And I don't know, it just works a little bit better. One thing that's a downside to using super glue to connect things together is that it is kind of a brittle glue. And if you think that this is going to have like a shear or a load on that plane, maybe a transverse or a bending or something like that, then it will tend to break. Sometimes that's good because you can use super glue to kind of temporarily attach things, and it will snap loose when you're done. In this case, I don't want them to snap loose, but I did put a couple of dots, all around here. Not large. I didn't like coat the surface. I did this. I did, that kind of thing, and put dots around the corners and down the middle. Then I sprayed the other half with the accelerator and clamped them together for 5 minutes or so. So they ended up like that. I'm way off the camera. So, and I used just spring clamps to clamp them together. If you're gluing stuff and you don't clamp them together, it doesn't hold as well. For most adhesives, most glues don't work as well if you don't clamp them. So I have a whole set of spring clamps and ratchet clamps and all sorts of clamps over there that I can use to hold stuff together. If you are unsure, maybe this is an aside, not really related to what we're doing other than gluing. Let me show you this. There's a web page called thistothat.com, and it's got a list on one side of, hey, I want to attach plastic, so you just printed something in plastic, and I want to glue it to a piece of fabric, whatever the two things are. Then you hit Let's Glue, and it will give you the best options available for connecting those two materials. And then, some hints or some warnings about, hey, it's hard, plastic isn't just plastic. There's all sorts of plastic, so it's hard to give generic advice that applies to all of them, so blah, blah, blah. So thistothat.com, if you're trying to glue two different materials together, or, well, yeah, actually, you can put plastic to plastic in there, and it'll give you some options there. Again, it does say that many kinds of plastic, so not all plastics respond the same to all glues. So anyway, that's a neat little site for figuring out how to attach two things together. All right, I will mention this. So you might think that if you want to do plastic to plastic, you get model glue, like for scale models. That is generally not going to work. So most of the model glue is actually a solvent. and it relies on assuming that this plastic happens to be styrene, which this is not. This is PLA. And so what those glues, a lot of those solvent glues do, actually what all solvent glues do, is they actually melt the plastic together, and it on both sides of the join, and when you clamp it together, it reforms into basically a solid piece. So if you're thinking that you'll get some model glue because you've built some models, scale models before, that may not work, because a lot of those are solvent based glues that aren't actually adhesives, they are actually solvents. So don't just go grab your model glue and assume it's going to work on PLA. So we did get all of these. Now again, I have got these as, you know, they're not the right color and they're PLA, which seems to be working fine. It is more brittle than something like a PETG. Let's see if I can get it more on the picture. It's just too big to zoom in on. But you can kind of see what's going on with those. I said I was going to talk about this guy. So these are also PLA. Again, I wanted to print those in PETG. I just haven't done it. But I'll show you a problem. So look at that. It broke right there. I wasn't even doing anything. I just picked it up and I happened to bend one of these canards over, and the little tab, now I got to get it out of there, but it broke off because the way I printed this was I printed it flat down, and so these layers are more or less stacked in this orientation, and it just snapped at one of those layers. So there's a couple of things that we could do to work on that. I'll put this back in here for now anyway. Maybe it'll stay. I don't know. It's not very good. One thing we can do is try the print in a different orientation. So this would be stronger if the layers were going across here, right? Because then you're just kind of bending strands of filament versus bending across those layers on top of one another. So I could try printing, let's look at the printer. I could try printing it, you know, maybe standing up, something like this. That wouldn't be too bad. Actually, I want to stand it this way. So stand it like that, so that it would print. And those little things, I'd have to have some support material, which is not a big deal. I don't generally like using support material. And the layers would be a little stronger. We could use a different material. We could actually use the PETG, which is a little more, it's a little tougher. So it's still going to be weak across the layers, but it's a little more flexible, I guess. We could try that. I think what we'll try doing in the future anyway, I'll probably print a new one in like PETG and get it the right color. Those are supposed to be black. So just to see if it'll survive. But I think what we'll try doing is, these would be a good resin print. Actually, all of these would be a good resin print. The missiles, maybe we wouldn't have to split them in half then. And one thing with the resins, they're messy, but you can actually custom mix the resin formula to have a little bit of a flex to it. Try to maintain detail. You can tint it whatever color you want. We might do that in the future to try and get these a little more durable. The resin also is higher detail, so I might be able to pick up the lines in it a little bit better. But that might be a project for the future to try to do that. What about the ABS? ABS cement is also usually a solvent. So ABS dissolves with acetone, and so most of those are actually a acetone-based solvent, and ABS does adhere that way also. There might be some actual like cement type of glues for ABS for like a car bumper that are not solvent based, but a lot of the ABS stuff is acetone based. So I'm not sure on the exact one. There probably are some that are more glue adhesive like versus the solvent one. ABS can do both though. PLA does have a solvent, but it's super nasty to use, and so you don't normally use that in a household environment. I think it's Meek maybe. I don't know. Most of the time when you're doing PLA or PETG, it's super glue is what you're using, or some of the 3M stuff works pretty well. Last time I showed you the little airplane launcher gun thing. And I said that there are other types of like multi-print models. Here's one I've done that's got lots of pieces. This guy, this is a full RC, everything except for the actual nuts and bolts and the electronics. So it does have a motor. Let's see if I can get it out of here. I don't have it nice in here, but it's just kind of thrown in there. Other than that, every piece of it, including the tires, like the rubber tires, is printed. This is the Open F1 car, so it's all free to download. Obviously, if you have to have some hardware to, like, there's a screw there, there's one there. There's several pieces. I don't know if you can see. There's a seam line right across there where you've got pieces connected together that you have to screw together. So you have to have a little bit of hardware to assemble it. And if you want it to actually be an RC car, then you have to have the RC hardware. I guess you could just build it without that, and it just is a static model. But everything is 3D printed. Let me see if I can find it. I think this is the right one. It's loading. Yeah, this is it. Here. So, printables. That's Prusa's version of Thingiverse and MakerWorld and all that kind of stuff. It looks like there's 50. You don't have to print all 51 files. There are some optional ones, like these are 2-color. I didn't do any 2-color model files on mine. But it's a really fun print. As far as an RC car, it does work. It is probably not the ideal one. It have to have a pretty flat surface. It doesn't have suspension so much. Basically, the suspension is however much flex you have in the tires. There's no articulated suspension. It kind of looks like there is, like a double A arm, but it's not. It's static. It'll turn, the wheels turn, but there's no suspension to it at all. So you have to have a pretty flat surface for it. Even the drivetrain over here is printed, so those are printed gears for it. So if you want to try something a little bit more sophisticated, you can print one of these guys. It takes, I don't remember, it took a couple of days to get all the individual pieces printed. I didn't have any print failures. They're all set up for either no support or kind of light support, usually for a screw hole or something, which is a little annoying to get the support out of the screw hole. But it works pretty well, and it's free. You can download all the files from many places. Printables is one of those places. There's a build guide on the printables one that links you to Daniel's site where he's got all the parts for it. There are other really nice models out there that are not free for a whole variety of figures and cars and whatever. So if you want to pay some money, then there are some really, really nice models to print out there. All right, so I just was going to show you that you can print entire functioning things. It doesn't have to be just a static little deal. All right, let's get this guy out of the way and move on to the day. We're trying to let me see. I think we've done all the things that I wanted to do. Let me check and make sure I'm not forgetting something. All right. Yes, let's go to, I've scanned in the top part of this guy. So I didn't scan the whole model, but I scanned this area. We're also going to have to make a windscreen, so I scanned that area too. We'll do that later. Our goal right now is, let's try and get that working. So I've scanned it, and I'm going to show you a piece of software called Meshmixer. There are others. This is the one I like to use. It's an older piece of software that is owned by Autodesk, but they don't really support it anymore. They're trying to put all of these features into Fusion, but I still like Meshmixer. You can still download it, and it's one thing about Meshmixer is that let me see if I can get it all in the window. Is that it if you start using large models, large meaning lots of polygons in it, lots of detail, then it does struggle and will crash on you. So if you are using Meshmixer with large models, I would recommend saving your work pretty often. So what I would do with this, and there are others that you can use, is I scanned the model, but it probably needs some cleanup. So I'm going to import it, and let's see if I can find, I think I put it in here, and I assume it's the last one, I don't know. Oh no, where did I put it? Maybe I put it on the desktop. Oh, right there, that's probably it. Let's see if this is it. I don't actually know. This is it. So this is what I've got. So this is straight out of the Revopoint software. I think I did like 8 individual little scans, merged them all together, meshed it and all that kind of stuff. And you can kind of see there's some unnecessary. I didn't get any bottom side of anything, so it's kind of just a shell. And I've got this little piece over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to analyze with the inspector here, and it's going to find a bunch of areas that it thinks there are holes in the model or little problems. I'm just going to I think I'll flat fill all of those. So it's basically going to put little flat surfaces on any of the holes that it finds. That'll just kind of help me deal with any opening spots in the model that sometimes give me problems. Apparently there's 29 of them, and it's trying to fix them all. This step is a little bit optional, not necessarily super important. Hopefully, I don't think it's going to take that long, but it is actually being a little bit slow. Probably because the computer's doing streaming and this at the same time. So what we'll end up with after this is, let me speed it up now. Is I need to try and orient it kind of straight. So there's some of the patches it made. So I'd like to get it. There's my coordinate system down there. That dot is the origin, and it's all kind of not straight. And some of the stuff I want to do will work better if the model is oriented more or less straight. Now this model doesn't really have a axis that's easy to identify. Like there's not a flat surface. Maybe this surface back here is flat. Even it's not flat, it's slanted on the model, but maybe I could use that to orient. First, let's get rid of some of this unnecessary stuff. So I'm going to select, and I'm going to, let's do a, I guess we can do that. Try and select those, hit delete, get rid of that. Oh, well, I don't want to, clear selection. Didn't want to erase part of my model. Just get rid of those. We could narrow down a lot of this model and like cut off these little wings and all that, but I'm going to leave that just as reference. Let's see what we can do to get it oriented. So it thinks this is the top view, which is not far from the truth, but it's kind of twisted up. So now I'm going to edit and transform, and I'm going to use this gizmo to try and get it straight ish. Looks like needs to tilt some, but I'm on a weird axis now. Let's use the world frame axis. Try and, that's starting to look a little better. Let's accept that, and then let's see if we can work on this. Let's transform again. I'm doing it in stages because it gets confusing on what is up and down if you try to do it all at once. All right, so let's see. Let's look at directly right side. Oh, you can't. Yeah, you can see it. Let's transform and let's raise it to where the wings are right there. And let's see if we can tilt it so that what I'm looking for, it's going to be hard to see on your screen, but you can kind of see how the wings pass through the grid. I want to see if I can get them more or less level with each other, which they're pretty close. I mean, that's actually really close, I think. I'm going to call that good there. Now let's get let's see, whatever side. It thinks that's the back view. I'm not going to worry about the back versus front or anything. Technically, that would be better, I suppose, if I did. That looks flat enough. So I think we've got it oriented well enough that it'll be pretty straight. Now, if you did have some flat surfaces, we could use them as reference in Fusion to orient things to the actual X, Y, and Z, or X, Y, Y, Z, Y, X plane. But I don't know that there are enough of those that I would trust to do that in Fusion. So I'm just doing it by eye here, which it looks pretty good. All right, so then we would go and we would export as a STL file, and we would save it as whatever name we wanted. I'm seeing the Epic Fluffy. I forgot to tell you, Tinkercad, unless you change the names, it will generate some kind of adjective and some kind of noun, and you get all kinds of weird names. So if you start seeing weird names, Epic Fluffy, in your files and you don't know what they are, they're probably from Tinkercad if you've used Tinkercad. All right, so I've already done that part, and let's go into Fusion. Oh, actually, no, I need to show you. Let's do that. File, export, STL. This will be X30. Let's see. This is on 620. All right, so we'll save it. You can save this as a Meshmixer file versus just exporting the STL. That you might want to do that if you think you might need to come back to this file in Meshmixer and do some more mesh mixing. Meshmixer can do a lot of stuff. We'll actually do some more with it later in another project, but I'm not going to come back to that, I don't think. So let's go to Fusion. So this is what we're trying. I know that looks like a bunch of squiggles, but we'll come back to that. Let's create a new one. And let's insert our mesh. And I select it from my computer. There it is right there. There's my mesh. This is where I could try to reorient it if I want it to be, you know, more like that's not the top view. So maybe if I wanted that to look more like a top view, I would need to move it. Which way do I need? I'm lost. Top. Oh, maybe I can just flip it around on that axis. Close. That looks like a top view. All right. So you can move that around if you wanted to. Let's turn the origin on. It actually looks like it's close to centered, but not quite. Let's see if we can. I don't know if you can even see it. There's the origin line is like right there, and I'm trying to line it up because I don't have a lot of tools here for not a lot of surfaces that are square on this plane. So you could spend as much time as you wanted on that. Generally, remember when we brought in a picture reference, we had to calibrate it. Generally with the scans, they have the dimension data built into them so that you don't have to scale this. So I'm not going to worry with scaling it, you know, to some actual geometry. It should be pretty close to the real size. The one thing it could, I suppose, is if maybe the scan was done in millimeters and you bring it in inches, maybe it doesn't translate right, but we'll deal with that later if we need to scale it. All right, so now I've got all this geometry, but this is mesh geometry. So look, it's just a bunch of triangles. SolidWorks, Fusion, they don't deal very well with triangles. They are parametric modelers where you've got this history of operations like extrudes and drawing a sketch and all this kind of stuff. This is just a collection of points that are all connected together with lines to make all these little triangles called a mesh, and that's not what Fusion or any of these kind of modelers want. So what we need to do is we just need to use this as a reference, but we can't draw on it. Like we can't just like select it as a surface and draw on it, but you can get close to that. So what we can do is if we go to our mesh tab, so I've got solid surface mesh. Oh, let's see, that's off the top of your screen. Let me see if I can. Yeah, you need to see those buttons. So surface there, mesh. We go to mesh. because this is a mesh. Now I can at least select it. Create a mesh section sketch. So what my idea is that I want to use this geometry to create some profiles that I can do a loft. And if you don't know what a loft is, basically it is several consecutive cross sections that you are letting the computer build the geometry based on those cross sections. So I think that if I build a cross section across here and one across here, maybe I can add the ends here as kind of rails, then I can loft between those and basically create the little hatch. The hatch, if you look at the pictures online of what this thing, it has a little fin on it. We'll deal with that later. But let's just see if we can get this curve done. Now, one thing about it is that it doesn't just jump straight from here straight back to there. It's a little bit of a curve, a little curved there. So if I just create this profile and this profile, it won't have a curve to it. So I think what I need to do is create maybe 4 profiles starting back here, here. I don't have any in the middle to work with, so I'll have to jump to here and then maybe back here somewhere. Maybe that'll create the bulbous curve that I need in there. So that's my plan. We'll see how it goes. All right. So we may not get this all done today, but we'll get the steps of how do you interact with the mesh. We'll get that done. And we may get it all done. I don't know. All right. So we're in the mesh tab. We've got our mesh imported. It's aligned with our coordinate system. You can kind of see the coordinate system in the background there. So create mesh section sketch. So we want to create it as part of this mesh, and it's asking me to create a plane, and you can kind of see that orange line is a cross section anywhere that it intersects, that plane intersects the mesh. So we can do that. And now I've got that little orange line, so I'm going to do that a couple of times. I wish it started out the way that I want it to every time, but it doesn't. We'll try and get one right at this edge now. There, maybe. We may have to, like, when we go to actually fit our part to the plane, we may have to scale it just a tiny bit to make it adjust just right. We'll see. Let's do one more. Somewhere in there. So now I've got 4 little profiles. Now these I can't do anything with. These are just mesh. That's why they're orange. They're mesh. That's hard for me to say. Mesh section profiles or sketches, but they're not selectable lines. So we still have to do some more work. Let's go ahead and try to capture this edge here too. I don't know. I think that edge might be the one straight thing on here, like it's straight lines. So let's do the same thing, but let's try and grab that edge right there. Some of this I'm having to eyeball, so that's why there may be some tweaking needed when we're trying to be done with this. All right, so let's turn off the scan. That's what we've got. So you can kind of start to see what we're going to work with. It's getting there. All right. Now what we need to do is I have created in my little sketch folder 6 sketches. I need to go to each one of them and actually grab the geometry that I want to work with. So let's start with this one in the back. That's this first one. All right. So I'm going to open up that. There's the little mesh section sketch that I created. Let's right click on sketch. Oh, well, let's unhighlight that. Right click, edit sketch, and there's my little sketch. So and it's a little wonky. See, it dips down below my line. It's above the line, so I'm going to have to average it out a little bit to see if I can get it to work. And how I'm going to do that is I'm in a sketch tab now, and there's a special tool in Create that is called Fit Curves to Mesh Section. So I have a mesh section sketch, which is this orange line, and this tool lets me snap to it more or less and kind of average it out, because they realize that a mesh is not going to be perfectly orthogonal geometry. So I'm going to do that. Brings up this little window where I have three tools. I have a line if I think it's a straight line, I have a arc if I think it's a part of a circle, and I have a spline if it's somewhere in between, you know, it's some random shape. I would assume that when this was made back in the 80s, this shape is probably a pure arc. This hump is. And so I'm going to go to arc, and I'm going to basically try and find that arc that fits there. Now, that's not perfect. It's kind of under there, over there. So I'm going to, oh wait, whoops, cancel that. Let me start that over. I selected, maybe the arc actually starts somewhere in here. That actually matches pretty well. That actually, I mean, there's a little bit of variety in there, but it's pretty good. Now it definitely dips down. Oh, let's start from here and see if we can match up an arc. We want to assume it kind of levels off. Probably does something like that. Now, looking at the actual model, I think it just flattens out at that point. Now I've got some weird dipping in here, and that's kind of probably from the scan. This is probably one of the places where I'll have some tweaking to do. I'm just going to draw a regular line now. Oh, I need to okay this. Hold on, it is thinking. I think it was thinking I wanted to draw some weird arc when I was kind of just hovering around there. Hopefully it'll come back. I don't know. Let me close some of these. We don't need Bamboo Studio. Oh, this is not good. Well, it wanted to crash. I talked about Meshmixer wanting to crash, but not Fusion. Fusion is also an Autodesk product, but normally it doesn't crash on you. But I don't know what I did. I did something that it didn't like. So let's load it back up. A lot of times Fusion will have saved our work, but we'll see. It does save to the cloud by default. I'm not even sure if you can save local files. You can export them to your local computer, but I don't know if the Fusion stuff is saved locally. All right, let's see if we. Oh, look, we have 836. That's pretty. Let's try to get that. Is that the one? No, that's one piece of what we did. So let's see if I've got one that I had done more on. So let's see if there's an older one. Oh, those are really old. Maybe this is where we'll. All right. I think we're back. That was the internet, not Fusion. So let's go to Mesh, Create, Section Sketch, select our mesh, and our plane. We need one. Let's just do two. Actually, let's see if we can get a. It's being really laggy. I'm not sure what's got it going so slow. It was working pretty well, and all of a sudden, oh, it's trying to update. Oh, that's annoying. see it down here. It's 46% updated. I don't know why it was trying to update at this point in time, but it wants to update. Oh, you know why? Because when I opened it this morning to get it ready, it has Fusion is one of these pieces of software that has to be connected to the internet so that it will work. But that also means that whenever they push an update out to you, it'll give you like one chance, and you can update right then, or it will update on the next restart. And I just restarted it because it crashed. So now it's going to update. It's actually seeming like it's going relatively fast. It's at 67% or so. But it's really laggy when I'm trying to use it, and it's updating at the same time. So that's a little bit of a pain. I don't know if it's going to be faster I might have to restart it again once it's updated. I don't know. But I don't want to try and work on it while it's updating, because it's going to be too laggy. You can't even get the mouse cursor where you want it. And it's at 86%. So we'll just let it finish its little project, and then we'll try to finish our project. We'll tell you about Fusion. So as long as you have a .edu license email, then there is a free, like, pretty powerful version versus just the one you download normally. You can kind of see I've got the education license up here at the top. Actually, you can't see that. Now you can see it. Education license. So if you have a .edu email, then you can get a full-blown version. In fact, Autodesk has, they probably have hundreds of pieces of software that they've collected over the years, and most of them you can use free if you have the .edu email address. So there are a lot to choose from out there that are pretty good industry level, leading in some cases, software. 98%. Maybe it would be a good idea that I save this when it actually lets me back to doing something. Nothing in the chat? Nope. Let's see. It kind of stalled on me. I wonder if it'll let me do anything now that it's finished downloading. It's working a little bit faster. Not perfect, but not bad. I'm just going to see if I can get some of these profiles made while it's doing whatever it's going to do. Okay, we got those made. Now it's trying to, I don't know, got a little progress bar down here. All right, hopefully we don't have to restart it, because now the next time I restart, I'll be up to date, which I don't know how long that'll take. Let's save this while it is got some profile lines on it. This will be the X30 what are we, upper hatch maybe? Call it that. Let's not worry about these guides on the side yet. Let's go back to what we were doing. So let's turn off the body because it kind of gets in the way right now. And let's pick, I think, this sketch. That's the first one. So this is kind of where we were. So edit sketch. Let's zoom into that guy. Create a fit. We're going to assume it's an arc. Something like that. Looks very close. And then we're going to try and get something like that, probably. Oh, I changed my... Somehow I didn't. Oh, I guess I have to select OK. Maybe that's it. I don't want to select. I don't have to redo it. There's got to be a way I can do them without having to restart every time. But right now it's not wanting to do that. Okay. That's where it crashed last time. We're going to draw a regular line here and call that good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line from here over to that other point, and I'm going to make that a construction line. So select it, hit X, and it turns into a dotted line. I want to ensure that that line is horizontal, and then I'm going to find the midpoint of that line right there. Make that a construction line also. So select it, hit the X key. I'm going to trim off, so T, I'm going to trim off this side. And now I should have a couple of things. I also know that it should be horizontal at this point, so I'm going to draw a line from that end point out. Make sure that that line is horizontal. And then this guy and select that. Oh, it's over constraint. Oh, it's already tangent. All right, good. This little symbol means it's tangent. I was trying to make sure that it didn't have like a little ridge or a dip at the top there. So I made a horizontal line that's construction line, and I want this arc to be tangent to that line so that it's not going to have that dip in it. These two look okay. Technically they should be tangent to one another. And then this line should be horizontal, which that little symbol there means it's horizontal. And then these should be tangent, I think. So I'm going to select this, and tangent. And then if things are, I'm a little bit off here, you can manipulate the lines like clicking and dragging on them to try and get things to look right. So it kind of looks like I might need to do something like that. I'm not sure why I'm so far off on that line and it dips down right there. Let's turn the mesh. We'll find where I'm at in the mesh. There we are. And let's see if we can figure out what might be going on there. Oh, there's on the model, there's a little panel there. Probably, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Oh, my camera, I'll fix that in a second. There's a little panel right there, and I'm picking up some of that panel, and it's raised. That's what's going on. I'm surprised to pick that up. Let's see if we can fix our camera here, so I'm not frozen. All right, now we're back moving. So I think that's why I'm picking up that I actually can see that panel raised right there. So I was right to drop down and go straight, I think, because we're not actually modeling that piece. All right, let's turn that back off. And go back to our sketch here. I've got only half of it. Let's select it, mirror it on that line there. Okay. And let's turn off our orange lines, and there is our first profile. That's something we can actually select and use in a loft. So we need to do that a couple of times. I think we might be able to at least get 2. I don't know if we can get 3. Let's try another one. Maybe it'll go pretty smooth. Let's see. That's the next one. So let's edit it. And basically the same process. So create a fit of an arc. Try to figure out where this arc might transition from one curve direction to the other. Looks like maybe in there. I'm going all the way across it to try and average out the whole arc. Oh, if I hit escape, it escapes the whole tool. I didn't want to do that. What if I hit enter? Oh, enter is bad. Wow, there's something weird about... Huh. This tool and this mesh is really not happy together. I'm not sure why. So I've done, probably it's a function of memory resources, because a lot of the resources are also being used on the streaming part of things, and maybe that's why it's not being too happy. I think you get the idea of what's going to happen here. I would have liked to have done a little bit of loft, although the lofting doesn't have anything to do with the mesh geometry. It's really just a regular loft. But I think I'm going to need all 4 of those lines, which keep I haven't gotten but one now, and it may have gotten lost in the recovery when it crashed. I don't know when it saved it last. It didn't even give me a option to recover. Oh, there they go. Oh, the last one was an hour ago though, so that's not going to be very helpful. Let's see if I've got one in here. I don't know where I saved it though. I guess if it was an X30, it's going to be at the very bottom. There's one I actually made. Alright, so this one is not quite right, but I can at least show you the idea. This is the one we were working on. So that's the part, yeah, you can see that. That's the part we were trying to create, although that one is not quite right. Here's the one we're actually working on though. And it does have, has our lines on it at least. Just doesn't have any of our profiles. So I think I'll probably have to do this one offline. So the general, what I'm planning to do, keep doing, you know, find the sketch, edit the sketch, turn off the body so you can see the sketch, create a fit. If you don't do the fit, you can just draw using these as kind of guidelines, but they won't actually snap to the line. And if you get, you know, oriented wrong, like maybe you're doing some weird orientation, maybe it doesn't work too well and you're off on the line. So it is much better to actually do the curve fits so that it's snapping to this orange line is a set of data points on the model. They're just in the mesh format, so you can't do any actual like extrusions or anything like that with it, but it is actually snapping to your model this way. So it's much better if you do the fit versus if you just try and eyeball it. So that one, let's see if we can get this guy and this guy to be tangent, and this guy, and if I can highlight it, that one to be tangent. We need to find our midpoint. That was just a line from here to, actually let's start from this one. There to there. It's already horizontal. Let's make it a construction line. Find the midpoint. That triangle means I'm at the midpoint, and I've got a right angle there, so that's what I want. We will trim that piece off, and now we will select these guys, mirror them on that, and we should have a pretty accurate profile. and then we could open this guy up and turn off the orange lines, and there's just our profile. Maybe I do have time to do one of them, so let's try to do one more without it crashing. So this should be the next one. Yep. So edit, sketch, and let's do the same thing. Create a fit and try to find a representative, something like that. And then let's create, let's do OK. It seems to be better if I OK after every one. I don't think I have to, but it seems to work better that way right now. So something like that. Oh wait, cancel. I usually hit escape to get out of a menu, but it's not liking that. There. Click OK. Draw us a line out here. That's hard. Oh, I didn't want it to be that. Let's make that line horizontal. There we go. Notice how everything kind of moved around. Tangent. Those are tangent. Look, we're way too high, so we've got to work on that some. We can just move. Let's see if we can move this guy. But it needs to line up. So these may not have the arc quite right, and somehow it's not snapping to my grid anymore. It's kind of unconnected. I should have done some stuff in a little bit different order. Let me delete that one. In fact, and that I didn't like that. Didn't like that one. Let's try it again. Create an arc. Of course, the menu's in the wrong spot. Guess I could go this way. Try this side, it seems to match better. That line is not horizontal, so let's force it to be horizontal. That still looks okay-ish. Got a little bit, I don't know, maybe it's all right. We'll find out. Okay, let's make sure that this is horizontal here, or yeah, horizontal tangent line. So I'm going to draw a line coming out of here, make that part just a construction line, and then we're going, it gave the tangent symbol, but it's a little bit above where I think it needs to be. But wow, these two need to be tangent, which, look at that, that's not at all what we want. I'm going to undo some of those. We'll just, if I don't make these tangent, I'll have a ridge right there. So I do want those to be tangent. Let's start from this side. Those should be tangent. Hopefully it doesn't go too far. We may have to lock this one down so it doesn't get too far off for us. That's not too bad, but it's still not. I think what I have is this point should be further up and this point should be further in. They're just being a pain. I might have to erase that line. Alright, so the problem I'm having is I think I picked the wrong. It's not obvious where it goes from this arc into this arc, and I think I put it too high. Like it's probably supposed to be way down here somewhere. That's looking a lot better. We're still off though. Maybe we'll go with that. Although look at this. This is not. That should be vertical. All right. Maybe we're close. All right. So there, there, and we will mirror them on that line. That actually looks decent. And we'll finish the sketch. All right. So we would do that 4 times. We'd have to fiddle with it, you know, to get all of the things lined up. But now I've got actual stuff I can select. So then I can create a loft. Now I've got a sweep also. A sweep, if I had a guideline and like this picture is showing here a circle, then I could make that circle go down that path and make a solid. But what I want is a loft where I've got at least 2 sections and the software will connect the surfaces of those sections. So I'm going to do a loft. This is going to only be a piece of it. So profiles, this rail, that's not going to be a rail. Get rid of that. Profile, I want this as a profile. Why is it putting them as rails? Maybe I have to click on plus. Oh, maybe I need them to be connected together. Like it's wanting to select individual things. They are, I think, connected, but maybe they're not. How do I join them? Whoops, not that. Like it's only connected halfway. It should be a mirror though, so I don't know why it didn't connect them all together. Huh. Well, I need these to be connected, and I don't think they are. Let me do one search over here and see if I can quickly. I might have to make them fully constrained. I don't want to do that. Or I mean, I would like to do that. It's just hard to do. Let's see. I don't see where well, we'll have to come back to that, I'm afraid. Because I don't see where to join them. Oh, I wonder if I can make them coincident. What if I fix them? Let's just see if that works. Still doesn't let me collect them all at once. It wants them to be rails, which I don't want them to be rails. They need to be, oh, do they have to be closed, I wonder? let me see something real quick. This might be not the right way to do it, but we're gonna see if it works. All right, let's see if that makes it happier. Okay, well, all right, so let me, this is not the way I intended to do it, but oh, you know what, I think if I were in, I was in the solid tab. If I were in one of these other tabs, I could probably do a loft from lines. Now that I think about it, maybe the surface. Yes, I could have created a loft from a surface in the surface tab, and then I could have picked these to be profiles. Huh. So that's the difference. So there, I can add another one here, and then I don't have any rail. I should have done change selection. But now that I've got a solid in there, it may not work. There's our first piece. So what my problem was is these are fine, these profiles are fine, but if you want to make a solid one, then what you need is a closed, like this. I need a closed whole area, and I can loft that. If I want to just make the surface, then I need to be in the surface tab, and well, wherever I think you have to drop down. There's a loft from there, and then I can just select the lines that I was drawing. The difference will be that the solid will be actual solid object. It'll have thickness. Here, this is a surface which is infinitely thin. What I would need to do if I do the surface is, which probably is better, I will make sure I'm in the surface tab when I create the loft. And then once this surface is done, I can modify it and give it some thickness. Maybe it's in create thickness. I don't remember where, or I could offset it, thicken, there it is. So once I have the surface, I can thicken it and estimate how thick my part should be here. Maybe 1 to 2 millimeters, 1.5 millimeters, something like that. So I think what my process will be, since we're out of time, is I'll finish these other two lofts. I will use the surface tab, do the loft between the profiles, not worry about the solid yet. Then I'll have some shape like this. Then I will thicken it, and then I'll turn back this on and try to chop it to where it fits into this little spot. You can kind of see we're close. You know, we're not perfect. You can kind of see our mesh kind of is above sometimes, and our surface is above sometimes. So they're interacting. They're really close. Not perfect. You know, you like to see it perfectly lined up, but it's close. So we need to create this profile here, and mesh or loft all of them together, and then hopefully that'll give us the little shape. So I'll do that offline. It's way easier when the computer's not crashing all the time, or the software's not crashing all the time. And that'll be what we come back to Monday. Hopefully we'll have the little hatch finished. I'll show you how I put the little wing on it. So there is a let's see if I can find a picture of what we need to make. Maybe this one. All the internets. All right, there we go. See, it's got a little wing on it. Now that I'm looking at this picture, it does look like there might be, yeah, there's a little bit of a bulge there, but I think we'll be able to get that created pretty well. just that little piece right there is all we're trying to make, and this is just more like a triangle and a square, so not a big deal to put that on top of it. I have no idea what the underside looks like, but I don't really care. There is an attachment point, so you can kind of see down in there. There's two little tabs it sits on, so that'll be where I get the depth from. And then that little notch right there, it must have a little tab that kind of snaps into that notch. So that's our goal, and we're getting closer, I guess. We have to fix this guy, so that we got to fix that. I think we will just print it in PETG and see if that helps. And then once we get to the resin part of the printing class, we'll probably print those in resin. All right, I will be back Monday, and hopefully we'll have our little upper hatch. Maybe we will start working on this canopy. We've got the canopy, we don't have that. These fuel tanks, I don't have those. Those would be relatively straightforward. I don't actually have this front landing gear either, so that might not be so easy. We'll see how that goes, but we'll figure it out. All right. Oh yeah. So Jason Taylor in the comments, if I'd have looked over there, you're exactly right. We needed to be in the surface tab, not the solid tab. I didn't even notice I was in the solid tab. All right, back on Monday.